right, everyone. We are here with Mr. Carl. Carl is our geometric medicine man. And you actually gifted me this right here. Do you want to explain to us what this is?
This is what we would refer to as a tensor ring. And what they do is they have a lot of functions to them, but yours, I'm wearing mine on my crown as well. It's kind of perfect that you're doing that because the name of the show is Channeling Chavez. So if I could just give some history into the uses of
Yeah.
how crowns were actually used not only as a symbol of status throughout history, but also as a form of technology. It was used to connect royalty to cosmic consciousness, to receive divine wisdom and stuff like that. So we met the first time at a crystal shop.
Right.
And nowadays, in the new age, you'll see in the crystal shops people wrap their crystals and gemstones in copper because they amplify the effects of each other. Precious high vibrational metals and crystals and gemstones. So royalty, they would use the highest vibrational metal, which is gold, and they would stick jewels and gemstones of a high vibration on the gold crown so that they can channel better, so that they could receive divine wisdom and connect with cosmic consciousness. And that was always the premise behind the crowns that they would wear on their head. It's like opening up your crown chakra, right?
Why copper?
Copper is also very electrically conductive. It's also a very high vibrational metal. So it's been used, for things on the more physical material realm like arthritis and stuff like that because it increases blood flow, electrical conductivity. But then, it's also connected to Venus, and because of the nature of it being a high vibrational metal, it will raise your vibration essentially just by wearing it or having it on your body, So what is the first question that a doctor will ask a person when they suspect they might have heavy metal poisoning? Lead, mercury, arsenic is, are you dealing with things like anger, frustration, anxiety, fear? Because these are lower vibrational emotions and emotional states, right? So when we wear or even consume things like gold, copper, which is an essential nutrient to have in your diet, silver, which we know people take colloidal silver to kill pathogens, which feed off of low vibrations, right?
Is that what's in the that toothpaste, that like alternative toothpaste, the colloidal silver?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little closer to the microphone, Carl?
Yeah.
Let's
I'll
adjust
bring
it
it
a little
up.
bit, yeah.
Perfect. Sweet.
Yeah, but that
Gotcha. Yeah. I just want to make sure I'm not a...
Actually, hold on, Mike. Let me do this a little bit.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Testing.
This should be good. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be more aware of it.
Sure. And if let us know also. The colloidal silver in the toothpaste. At the Mind Body Spirit Expo, there is a vendor there that sells it. So I've actually been. That's like my go-to toothpaste now.
Yeah.
Because the silver, specifically that type of silver, is like really good for your mouth, for your teeth. Obviously, fluoride is terrible.
Yeah.
So for a while, I was actually using the charcoal.
That's
charcoal
a good one, too.
toothpaste. Yeah.
So the premise behind silverware, this is another way that, we've been using metals as a form of technology, is that when we eat and we're sticking the silver inside of our mouth, every time we do that, we're getting nanoparticles of the food, which it's antimicrobial, so when we're consuming nanoparticles of the silver, it's raising our vibration, helping us to detox heavy metals, and even do things like kill parasites, So when we have lots of heavy metals in our environment, that's a good environment for parasites to thrive. They kind of go hand in hand. And by even just wearing things like copper, gold, silver, high vibrational gemstones and crystals, because of raising our vibration, it helps us to detox heavy metals. Just having it on our skin, we don't even have to consume it,
That
which is
makes
super cool.
it makes a lot of sense because like with the with like utensils that are like plastic, they're always saying like, oh, well, silver is better, and I thought because it was just like fancier, but no, there's actual health benefits to it.
Technological,
Yeah.
benefits to
Yeah.
it. And that's the way we've been using jewelry and metals for since ancient times, and people just don't realize it, right? So
So it's not just a fashion statement. It's just
no.
it's for your health.
Like people wear wedding rings today,
Hmm.
and the reason it's called the ring finger and that we wear them on our ring finger is because our ring finger has a vein that connects to our heart. It's also connected to the
Oh,
pericardium meridian.
interesting.
So by sticking gold, which is the most high vibrational metal, and then people will have a high vibrational stone, aka a diamond, which is actually the most high vibrational stone. It's literally helping you to open your heart chakra and amplify your aura drastically. And people don't realize it. They
Right.
think it's just a status symbol. Oh, I'm married and I have a partner, but it's having profound effects on your subtle energetic systems,
Sure.
which is super cool. Even things like earrings.
Hmm.
So we have from Chinese medicine what's called reflexology. On your hand, there's a point on that connects to every organ on different parts of your hand. Same thing with the bottom of your feet, but we also have that on our ear. And so the middle of the earlobe is connected to the third eye.
Oh, interesting.
So when we would stick gold earrings with same thing again, another high vibrational crystal or gemstone on the middle of our earlobe, it would be increasing our clairvoyant faculties, our psychic senses, extrasensory perception. And that's just another way that we've been using jewelry as technology, and people just don't realize it,
Right.
But it stood the test of time because we're still doing it
Right.
today.
I wonder if that's why when people wear like like so-called like fake jewelry and like they get rashes like, when they wear a lot of plastic
Yeah.
because it's actually plastic is not good for you.
Yeah.
And when you have it around you all the time, it's gonna.
That's
you know,
exactly it. So
okay.
now these things can be harming us or benefiting us depending on where we wear it, the meridians that they're connected to, or depending on the metal that we're wearing, the crystal that we're wearing. So all this stuff, if we take it into account, we can really use it to our benefit, or
Hmm.
it can work to our demise as well.
Now, wait, when did you get into all this like esoteric medicinal knowledge? How'd you get into it?
Just following my passion, really.
Really?
I do medical qigong as well,
Okay.
which is working with the subtle energy systems. So the chakras, the meridians, all of your organs, and studying the esoteric sciences, the development of what Rudolf Steiner would call the spiritual sense organs. Because these are things, clairvoyance, telepathy, telekinesis that can be cultivated.
Hmm. Were you a kid or were you a teenager or what around what age did you get into it?
Probably 4 or 5 years ago. So when I was 23, 24, that's when I started, For me, it started with conspiracies and realizing that
Sure.
there's more to this realm,
Yeah.
than what meets the eye. And then I just followed my heart, and it's led me to here, to things like sacred geometry, all the cool energy technologies, whether it's
Yeah.
tensor rings and harmonizers or orgonite or just working with the subtle energies.
And speaking of those, you brought one here, huh?
Yeah, so this one is called a harmonizer.
Okay.
This one, the clairvoyance would be able to see it creating a torus field. And it works the same way as a ring, essentially. It's like a etheric air filter.
Okay.
So negative energies in the room, in the area, get transmuted by this, and it turns it into beneficial life force energy, chi, prana, whatever you want to call it.
And this
It
is
has
just copper,
different
right?
terms. Just copper.
And you said earlier that you made this, right? Can I touch it?
Absolutely, please.
You said that you make these, huh?
Yeah. So because I work in qigong and stuff as well, you can, if you tune into it, you can feel the vibrations that are coming off of it as well. And everything plays a role when we go into making the tensor rings. So it's not just the fact that it's copper, but it is the specific direction that the copper is twisted in, and even the lengths that it's cut. So the one that I gave you, the ones that I'm wearing on my head, are cut at what's called the lost cubit. It's a form of measurement that's been traced to different pyramids. It's been used in the Pyramid of Giza and stuff like that. So it vibrates at a frequency of 177 megahertz.
Wow.
And they all have their own properties and stuff like that. There's the sacred cubit.
Do they all have the same
empowerment
frequency?
Cubit. No. So they
Okay.
all have different frequencies, but they all work in the same manner where they produce a scalar field that is emitting positive, life-affirming, life force energy.
I went to a presentation last year about scalar fields at a library, and they were talking about the healing modalities of some scalar technology, and I could cure everything from, arthritis to cancer. And I became really interested in that.
Yeah, I feel like we're just at the tip of the iceberg with this stuff, where science is starting to reach further than just material reality, right? They're starting to dip their toes into the spiritual, subtle energies, whatever you want to call it, which is super cool, studying things like the electromagnetic field and all these different esoteric sciences that have been used for thousands of years. They're just I would say that they're being rediscovered now.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's rediscovered, and like you said, the scientific community is finally opening. I mean, they're taking a long time, but they're very little by little opening up to it. I just found out a couple years ago that hospitals are now being a little bit more open to like Eastern medicines.
Yeah.
And obviously that doesn't make up most of the facility, but they do have like, I forgot what hospital it was in Chicago, but they have a whole wing of Eastern medicine that you could, consult with.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Being a Qigong practitioner, I'm all about that, because this is a form of medicine that dates back thousands of years to ancient China.
Yeah.
And people, you can't ignore it when you really dive into it and you practice it and you use it and you see someone that knows what they're doing. It's it just becomes unignorable.
Yeah.
From the results.
Right. Now you created this one yourself. What does this shape? What does it mean to you?
So the shape, it resembles a torus.
Yeah.
Essentially, and even the fact that it has 6 rings means something. So there's geometry encoded into
sacred
it as
geometry,
well.
huh?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so I also like to make different shapes, because every shape gives off its own energetic quality. Like the pyramids, right? This is what the ancients have been using for thousands of years, because they understand that pyramids give off very beneficial, life-affirming frequencies as well. So they would use this to go to power spots on the grid of the earth and amplify the life-affirming energy that it's already giving off, and magnify it even more.
There's you probably are familiar with it. There's this great book. Rob, can you check the comments, by the way?
I've been looking. Yeah.
Oh, what? Anything?
No, nothing.
No? Okay, well, everyone, hello. Everyone that's watching live, hello. I'm with
Sending you
Carl.
our love.
Yes. I'm with Carl, the geometric medicine man.
I like that label.
There is a book from the 70s called Pyramid Power by Max Toth.
Mm-hmm.
And years ago I read it, and it was great. It was the first time I heard that the pyramid probably wasn't a giant coffin. It wasn't a burial for the pharaohs. It was a power plant. It was an energy center. Are you familiar with this idea?
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
heard a lot about that. It is kind of funny to me how they say they call these things tombs, because we find them everywhere, whether it's Mexico,
Hmm.
China, Japan, Egypt, and we've never found a body
Right.
in one of them.
No.
So that concept seems to be very prominent nowadays, and it's growing more and more, but I believe that they were multi-dimensional, that it didn't serve just one purpose, that it had many, many different purposes.
Yeah, but it seems like the overall purpose was for energy, for healing.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. They say like the king's chamber was an initiation chamber,
yeah.
or an ascension chamber, where people used it to facilitate out of body experiences when they were ready for something like that.
Yeah. I just found out too that the ancient pyramids in Mexico and Southern America, when the indigenous people, when the Mexica or the Aztecs came upon the pyramids, they're not the ones that made the pyramids. They found the pyramid. They were already made. So to the ancient Aztec, it was already ancient monuments. So it like
Yeah.
begs the question, well, who the heck made these things then?
It's completely rewriting history
Yeah.
because the dates of them just keep getting pushed back further
Mhm.
and further. And something that's super neat about it is that we can see that civilizations have built on top of the pyramids.
Mhm.
And the lower we go, the older they get, the more profound and the more precise they're built.
Yeah.
So it's almost like cultures came around after them and tried to mimic them, but they couldn't do it nearly as well as the originals.
Right.
You know,
The same thing with Stonehenge.
Stonehenge, yeah. And
Yeah.
so all of these ancient sites, it's extremely fascinating what their applications may have been. All of them are aligned with the stars. All of them are on intersecting ley lines. All of them are on corresponding ley lines with each other on different parts of the planet. So there's a lot more to it than
Right.
than we really know.
One of the best writers, at least in my opinion, on ley lines is David Cowan. He's wrote several books on ley lines, and he was my introduction to that world. I find ley lines fascinating, and right here in Chicago, they say that we have a bunch of intersecting ley lines. And so you've done research on ley lines yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Shamanic cultures will actually have shown that they can use the ley lines to communicate, almost like a phone, you know, which
Yeah.
is super fascinating. They've essentially proven it for scientists and stuff like that. So, all these things, the extrasensory perception, if we wanted to cultivate these abilities, it would require two things, right? One, the first would be the belief
Sure.
that these things are even possible. And the second would be the practice, right? Almost like it's a muscle. And so, Rudolf Steiner said that for every form of technology that we create is just an external version of abilities that we possess laying dormant inside of us.
Mhm.
So I could provide you with a couple examples. When we implemented calculators, no one knows how to do math in their head anymore, right?
Mhm.
Or even on the paper, they just, it's as simple as typing it in the calculator. When we implemented GPS technologies on our phones, no one knows how to remember directions
Right.
anymore. So how far exactly does this go, though? Maybe if I couldn't call my phone that's halfway across the world in an instant like that, or look up a picture of Thailand in a second and see it, that we could be more likely to cultivate these abilities, things like astral projection, remote viewing, telepathy, telekinesis, And these are all things that the, CIA has declassified documents about them studying themselves. So why, Why did they even classify them in the first place is a good question.
Yeah, did you see it's been going around lately the Operation Gates or the Gate Project, which was a CIA backed project that was around in the 80s and 90s, and they were testing school children on their psychic ability without them even knowing it. And
Wow.
then steering them into these gifted programs to cultivate that ability.
Yeah.
So it's
That's
pretty,
super cool.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I know that that's still going on today in places
Oh, I'm
like
sure.
Mexico and
Yeah.
Egypt. They have schools where they're studying these children. Now, one of the most popular podcasts is the telepathy tapes.
Yeah.
So this stuff is all becoming more mainstream now, and it's super cool to see.
Yeah. Earlier you brought up Thailand, and I know you visited Thailand before.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
What was that experience like?
Oh my gosh, it was amazing, because we can fixate our view on the way that we live life here and forget, that people are experiencing the world through a completely different lens in other places. So getting to peek through
Yeah.
their lens can be extremely beneficial. It's acquiring a different perspective. And so the place that I went in Thailand, it was called Koh Phangan,
Okay.
and it happens to be on a ley line. So people there are more spiritually attuned, and it's a big place for practicing yoga, meditation, breath work, plant medicines, all these different things.
And you did all of that while you were over
Yeah,
there?
yeah, absolutely. The community there is amazing, and it was a life-changing journey.
That's
for me.
awesome. Yeah, it looked like I saw the pictures. It looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I went in the winter, and I overstayed my visa because I didn't want to come back. They're on the other hemisphere, so it's when it's cold over here, it's like summer over there.
Yeah.
So
How long were you there for?
5 weeks.
Okay.
So
okay.
only by a week I overstayed it,
Okay.
which is you have to pay for every day. So
Oh, do
thank
you?
goodness it wasn't too long. Yeah,
That is awesome.
yeah.
Man, scrolling through your Instagram, it's like, dude, you are the happiest person that I know. It's like, holy crap.
Man,
It's-
I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
'cause
yeah. What I gotta ask, what gets you down? What makes you sad? Because man, these videos that you have, the happiest person ever.
Yeah.
What makes Carl sad?
Well, first,
Shut up, Mike.
What gives you depression?
Yeah, I want to know what depresses you.
so I've cultivated this belief that many of us hold, which is that everything happens for a reason, right? And it's easy to hold that belief when we look back on the grand scheme of things. Like when I broke up with my girlfriend 5 years ago, you must have been in a lot of pain at that time, but looking back on it, you can see it inspired me to start going to the gym more, to start eating healthy, and man, this ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me, right? So the alchemy comes in how fast can you cultivate that belief that this is happening for me, not to me.
Right.
So I really believe that it's almost impossible for anything bad to happen to me because, the Egyptian Book of the Dead says there's no mistakes in life, only lessons.
So it's a shift in perspective.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's not to say that I don't experience negative
Sure.
emotions and stuff like that, but I always take it as an opportunity to learn and to
Yeah.
grow,
Yeah. And can I ask how old you are?
28.
28. So I mean, you're still really young, and you've been on this journey like not that long.
No, not
Right?
that long.
So where do you want to take it? Because
You
I
know-
know part of your business is these what would you call them? Copper
Tensor rings and
tensor.
stuff
I'm
like
sorry.
that. Yeah.
I'm sorry. The tensor rings. So the idea is that you're using this to for healing.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that you want to be doing more of this to help others.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
my main message is like you were talking about my Instagram. My name is the Sunlight Salesman.
Yeah.
And my message is that all the best things for us in the world are absolutely free. This is the message that I want to spread with the
Mhm.
world. So I want to promote things like breath work, fasting, meditation, grounding, getting sunlight, spending time in nature, reading,
Yeah.
all the best things for us. Everything we need to be happy and healthy is free. And so that's why, you can tell when I'm on my Instagram and I'm posting reels trying to spread my message. This is what brings me more joy than anything else.
Yeah.
And so I really believe that everything we put out into the world is like a boomerang. Paramhamsa Yogananda said that everything you put out comes back to you tenfold. So when you're spreading love and abundance, that just comes back to you in even more abundance, But if you're, not the nicest person and you're angry and you're mean to others, that's what you're going to experience coming back to you. You know?
It lowers your vibration.
Certainly.
I'm also like I would say I'm kind of a student of Rudolf Steiner myself.
Oh,
And-
man. We
We could probably do a whole podcast on that.
Yeah, because I love him. I study his work extensively.
Oh man, we actually do gotta talk about that. But one of the things that I like that he talks about is these the parasitic entities or the parasitic beings, and I don't think he actually says the word parasitic, but like basically that's what it is. Like these things that leech off you and stuff. But like the thing is like it's us that's giving them power because we let them affect us that way.
Absolutely. So you can almost think of it as a thought form or even an emotion, right? That we create and then we start to feed.
Mm-hmm.
So what are we going to feed? Are we going to feed love and abundance and gratitude, or we also have the opportunity and the free will to feed fear, to feed anger, to feed resentment. And this is kind of you can look at these emotions as parasites. They kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah. I mean, I think
and they do go hand in hand.
Well, right. I think that's what they literally are. I think they're just psychic parasites.
That's what I believe too, because everything comes from the realm of imagination. So when we start to feed negative thought forms and stuff like that, then it literally manifests inside of our body as parasites and stuff like that. And so the clairvoyant may be able to see it in your energy field, in your aura, but the doctor can see it with the telescope.
Yeah.
But they're the same thing because we know that the parasites in our body are just like the heavy metals, causing us to be in a lower vibration, to have lower states of consciousness and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel that in your life? Do you ever feel like all right, I feel one of these things and now I need to try to detach it from me? Are you in tune like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely go down my own negative thought belief systems and stuff like that, and I try to treat it with love. It's the same thing as what I was talking about earlier. I still think that this is happening for me. It's still a lesson. It's still a parasite that I created because my soul wants to learn from it.
Right.
That's truly what I believe.
We could learn from all our pain and our suffering. And
yes, the Bible says the most repeated phrase in it is "be not afraid." So I don't treat these things with fear, and this is kind of a Carl Jung take on it: is sit with your demons, and see. Don't judge them, because that is what's feeding them, is your judgments and trying to push it away. You can't bury it and sweep it under the rug. That's how it grows.
Well,
So
he
sit
talked
with
about
it.
shadow work, right?
Exactly. That's what the shadow work is.
Yeah.
Invite your demons, as they say, or the parasites, and sit with them and learn from them. Because when you don't approach them from a place of fear, they really have no power over you.
I think that's where people get stuck, because people don't want to confront who they are. They don't want to confront their sins, their darkness in them. And even once you do, because I feel like I've done this myself, like once you confront the darkness that's inside of you, you have to then take action to expel it, and that's a whole different thing.
That's
So,
exactly it, right? Because you can do all the plant medicine that you want. You can do, the breath work, the meditation, But if if you're not willing to make the changes that it shows you
Hmm.
that you need to make, then the growth isn't going to happen,
Yeah.
and that's all they really do with the shadow work is it shows you what you need to do to confront what's holding you back in life.
And I see that a lot, and perhaps you do too, in the spiritual field. Even at, we once talked at the Mind Body Spirit Expo, and there's a lot of people there. They want to do good. They're good people, but it's like everything that they're doing is basically an escape of what's actually needed to be done.
Yes. Yeah, it's a big thing nowadays.
Yeah.
They call it what, a spiritual escapism,
Yeah.
where they want to find things that are going to help them ignore their problems and
Right.
kind of push it under the rug, and that's just not.
And they lie to
That's
themselves
why
and say,
integration is so important, right?
Yeah, integration. Yeah, another Carl Jung. It's
Absolutely.
really important to take these this is, for lack of a better term, it's like more down to earth approaches to and spiritual approaches, and kind of like meld them together.
Yeah.
Because it's like the title, mind, body, spirit, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't have one without the other. You need a holistic approach.
The yin and
to
the
it.
yang, right?
Yeah,
So if
yeah.
we want to refer to Rudolf Steiner, he would say that these people are more under a Luciferic impulse, which is just go into the light and ignore your physical body. And so the impulse of the physical material realm would be considered Ahriman and Rosicrucianism. And the Christ impulse is finding the center of both and not
Yeah.
being in judgment and walking between both worlds,
Right. One of Steiner's first works I read was I think it's called Way of Initiation.
Yeah.
Where it talks about how, like, what it means to be a student and what it means to go through that initiation. And it's like he talks about, like, if you're not actually doing the work, then you're not going to be initiated.
Absolutely.
You
And
know?
he says that every step forward in spiritual development requires 3 steps forward in moral development of the character.
Yeah.
So you have to implement it in your day-to-day life,
Right.
You
Yeah.
have to walk the walk. You can't just, study these things. You have to implement them. And that's always the hardest part, right?
Right.
Because everyone can find fun in doing psychedelics and learning about the esoteric sciences and stuff like that. But if you're not willing to put in the work, if you don't want to open up your heart, then, it's going to create some stagnation and you're going to stay where you are.
Yeah.
The lesson will be repeated until you've learned from it.
I know he had connections to the Theosophical Society, but he kind of like broke off on his own and did his own thing, because he's like, well, they're all good and stuff, but it's like it's not the fullness of the spiritual life or the spiritual world. And he almost didn't go off on his own, but I'm really glad he did, because he gave us, anthroposophy. The idea of that man is spiritual, and we need to cultivate the spirituality that is us.
Absolutely. I'm a huge proponent of that as well. And he talked about how things like religions and philosophy, they need to be constantly changing to fit the concepts of the culture and make it understandable for the people of the time, So it always needs to be changing.
Yeah. Yeah, what I like that he did, he incorporated a lot of different belief systems. I mean, you see some Christianity there, you see some theosophy in there, and he was really a student of various practices, and he just kind of like took what he thought was the important bits, and then put his own voice into everything.
Absolutely. That's what really resonates with me about his teachings as well, is that he never really got caught in dogmatic belief systems. He would take what resonates from this religion, this culture, this society, and implement it all into one bigger picture. And he did a great job of kind of filtering through the dogmas of different religions and stuff for us and making it more digestible for our coming age.
Yeah.
And so he said himself that most of the work, the writings, the teachings, the lectures that he was putting out were not for his time, but actually for the time ahead, the time that we're in now, in the 21st century, where he said it was going to be the greatest mass incarnation of initiates ever at a specific time. So
that's us.
we're definitely on the precipice of great changes, and it's something that no one can ignore anymore.
Right.
You know, the world is getting more spiritual, it's getting weirder, it's getting more chaotic. It seems like time is just speeding up, you know?
Time is speeding up. The people are dividing. I mean, there's so much going on, like you said, you know?
Yeah.
So
there's it's awesome to see that there is a thirst for this knowledge, for the esoteric wisdom, and people are, you know, they're looking beyond the physical. They're looking to powers greater than themselves and trying to expand their consciousness more, and in the name of the greatest good of everyone. You know, because there's people that do this out of service to self, but it seems like we see so many people that are doing this in service to all. They want to be the best version of themselves so that they can be of their highest and greatest good to the good of all, to society, to the plants, the animals, the earth, you know, the cosmos, everything.
Yeah.
Because we are a fractal of source, right? So every action that we take, everything that we implement inside of ourselves is reflected in our external reality.
And you see that in quantum physics, right? It's called spooky action from a distance.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with that? Yeah. It's the idea that like what you do to one particle will affect the particle, you know, even across the world.
Yeah.
You know, and so if we're part of those particles, if we're fractals, then what we do to somebody will affect other people.
Absolutely. And I would even go so far as to say that everything that you do affects everyone else and everything else. And this is a concept that's prevalent in Buddhism, in Hermeticism. Both of them say that all is mind.
Mm-hmm.
So we really are just a fractal of the whole. And, you know, anything that we want to see changed in our external reality, we have to cultivate that within first. It's kind of hard to go around spreading love if you don't love yourself. Same thing with, you know, trust or respect. All these things have to be cultivated within, and then we see it in our external reality.
Yeah.
You know, and this is Carl Jung would talk about this a lot too. You know, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. That's a famous quote of his.
That's a great quote of his too.
Yeah.
It's. I think the point is like you got to do the work.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to be lazy, spiritually lazy and physically lazy, the results are not going to happen.
Absolutely.
You know, you can't wait for an external God. You have to do it yourself, and then the universe will bend to you.
That's the hardest part about it is,
right.
You know, but it's the most powerful thing that anyone can do is take responsibility for everything that happens in their life. Because when you take responsibility for everything that happens to you, then you have the power to change anything that happens to you.
For sure.
And that's, you know, on the opposite hand, that's why the victim mentality is the most dangerous. Because we, you know, then we lose control of everything that's happening in our lives, and we you know, we don't have the power to make the changes.
I think the victim mentality is a big problem, because there are people, though there are those in power that wants people to have that victim mentality. because it subjugates them.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's almost like you're showing certain people care, but you're not actually showing them care. You're just keeping them down, and
Yeah.
you're raising yourself up.
Yeah.
You know,
It's I think to the powers that were, I call them the powers that were now. I think the powers that be is us. It's the people. But the biggest threat to them, is us taking control of our lives and realizing the own power that we have within ourselves.
Yes, I think that is the
So-
biggest. I mean, we are the biggest threat
Yeah.
to them. You know,
Absolutely, and that's why they don't want us realizing how powerful we really are, and that's why our attention is the most valuable thing that we have. So, we're surrounded by distractions,
Yeah.
and we run from ourselves. But when we're able to really cultivate our own attention and even just sit quiet in a room, for 5 minutes alone,
yeah,
we start to cultivate an internal power and we realize that inside of ourselves that becomes, a threat to anyone who's seeking to control us.
yeah. I mean, that's why even riding in a car with the radio off will help you. You know,
I completely agree, man. I anything you can do to take your attention span back, because you have to start somewhere.
yeah,
Right? I'll never forget the first time I sat down and tried to meditate. I set a timer for 5 minutes. All right. And I sat down and I'm just sitting there completely in my head. I'm not able to
Yeah.
get away from the monkey mind. And I'm like, I forgot to start the timer. It's been like 30 minutes. And
Yeah.
then so I opened my eyes and I looked at my phone. It had been 2 minutes. It had been 2 minutes, but it felt like forever. It felt like
Yeah.
it had been days, because I wasn't comfortable with that.
right.
I was so used to distracting myself with whatever it may be, TikTok, TV, video games, food. It could even be the gym,
Yeah.
right? Things that are healthy, but if we need something outside of ourselves to, anything we can't say no to outside of ourselves leaves us in a disempowered state.
For sure.
And that's where the benefits of fasting really come in. That's why it's a part of every religion, culture, tradition. We know it's the best thing that you can do for your physical body, but it's about way more than that.
Yeah. I want to
you
ask you
know?
about fasting in a second. Rob, is there anything on?
No, I haven't seen anything.
No.
I will say you could bring it up because they're probably not going to hear it. But shower thoughts. Have you heard about that?
No.
So it's this. It's on like Reddit and Facebook, and it talks about like these interesting thoughts, and it's based off the idea that people have interesting thoughts in the shower, and it's actually based on what you said, because that's one of the only times people actually have time to think now is in the shower, because that's the only time they're not distracted by something.
Yeah, that's a
So
good
why it's called
point.
shower thoughts.
Wow.
Yeah. I never really
that's-
put that together, but it makes so much sense.
That does. Yeah.
It makes so much sense. So how can we build on that? Now turn the lights off and get rid of a little bit more distraction. And, the less we feed our senses,
yeah.
the quieter our mind gets. And that's how we get to the essence of who we really are more.
Mhm.
We see all of these practices from different cultures, cults, secret societies throughout time, where they would do things like go into caves, go
Yeah.
fasting, and really you could call them death rituals, where they would do everything that they can to suppress the senses and bring themselves closer to the essence of who they truly are.
The Eleusinian mysteries.
Yeah,
Where
the Eleusinian mysteries.
Eleusinian mysteries. Yeah.
Yeah.
They would do these death reenactments as a form of initiation.
Yeah.
So
And there's, this is what a lot of secret societies and occults and stuff like that, religions even, this is what they
Sure.
do to reach beyond the veil,
yeah.
right? Because you have to get rid of the labels. You can't bring anything with you. You can't bring, your senses with you. You can't bring your name with you. You
Yeah.
can't bring your Bitcoin with you.
Right. Yeah.
So, there's also another famous quote. I think it comes from one of the Eleusinians that said, if you die before you die, then you won't die when you die. And so the reason they were doing these rituals is to achieve the gnosis that we are more than a physical body. And if
Mhm.
you ask most people today, they'll say, they believe that they have a soul and they think that they're a human that has a soul. But really, it's the opposite, where we are a soul experiencing what it's like to be a human. And
Right.
if you can experience this while you are a human, then it, almost completely annihilates the fear of death, because you realize that there's more than this, that your consciousness doesn't just cease to exist after you die, you know, and it helps you to pass beyond the veil more
Mhm.
consciously.
I think that's what we're missing in the world is initiation. Like we don't have that anymore, you know. And there's a bunch of anthropologists that have talked about this. This is not an original idea, but they talk about how not so many, every culture around the world had their idea of initiation for different points of your life, and we don't have that. The closest thing that we used to have is like the idea of urban legends, where you like dare, like a kid would dare another kid to go into like a haunted forest or some like haunted area, but we just don't have those kind of things anymore to m- make adults or to create maturity or things like that.
I'm such a huge proponent of things like rites of passage
Right
and
to
then
that's the term.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. Yes.
Initiations,
Right. Yeah.
stuff like that, and it goes back to the premise of more resistance equals more resilience. That's kind of what we came here
Yeah.
as a human being to do, is to learn and grow from harder experiences, because in the higher dimensions they would say that it's a higher vibration, that it's more love and light, and when we take on an incarnation as a human, that we are susceptible to more suffering and pain. But those are our teachers, right? Those are
Hmm.
really the greatest gifts. And when you can look at it this way, you start to become an alchemist. This is turning true lead of experiences into the gold of the soul,
Yeah.
and that's the premise of alchemy. It's to be practiced first and foremost and inside, internally, and then you can get into the practices of trying to do this in the material reality. But this is what they all get wrong, all the chemists, is that they don't want to do, it goes back to the inner work, the shadow work, all
Right.
that stuff. They just want to make some money or whatever, turn this physical lead into gold. And so it's for all the wrong purposes.
We all need a dark night of the soul, as Saint John of the Cross
Yeah.
stated, right?
Yeah.
You know.
It's the crucifixion of Jesus is the greatest example of that,
Hmm.
right? Of turning pain and suffering into wisdom and enlightenment. And so we see this everywhere that we go, things like rites of passage, initiation, and just turning our pain, suffering, misfortune into love.
Yeah.
And so that's what Rudolf Steiner would say we incarnated to do, is to learn how to be more loving beings. And it's kind
Hmm.
of hard to learn love if you've never experienced hate,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. I mean, Carl, he was, I should say, Carl Jung was echoing him, or maybe vice versa, when he said that, you can't experience hell, or you can't experience heaven if you don't haven't experienced hell. You
That's
know.
exactly it. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's neither of them are echoing each other. It's just they're speaking the truth,
That's a good
you
point.
know?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's these things resonate when we hear it, no matter what teacher it comes from. Our soul knows what the truth is.
Hmm.
And so that's why it's important to live from the heart, is because too much of us are so in our analytical mind, our left brain, that even when we know we hear something that resonates, we will talk ourselves out of it, right? So all of our intuitive senses have been shut down because our society as a whole operates from the left brain. We're just analytical and logical, Ahrimanic, if you want to call it.
Yeah.
and we don't listen to our intuition. We've completely lost touch with that. Even, this could be left brain, right brain. We could even correlate it to masculine and feminine, and we live in a masculine dominant society.
So the moral of the story is that you need to suffer, but learn from your suffering.
Exactly.
know?
Exactly, because we have free will,
Yeah.
right? So we can choose to turn it into gold, or we can keep going deeper down that. If you tell yourself nothing good ever happens to me, then you're going to keep experiencing that,
Yeah.
So,
Earlier you brought up fasting. Now I've seen you talked about in your videos the importance of fasting. That basically every religion has had a fasting practice. So how often do you fast?
I try to do a 3-day fast quarterly.
Okay.
So 4 times a year, I'll do a 3-day fast. Now I'm trying to dip the longest I've done is a little over 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to do an even longer one, because that they've done it for, whether it's monks, shamans, mystics, yogis.
Yeah.
There's stories of all of them doing it for 20 days, 30 days, Jesus 40 days. Even in modern science, there's people who have been studied doing it for hundreds of days.
Right.
So when we go into a fast, our body intuitively knows to heal exactly where we need healing the most. So the first thing that it eats is things like cancer cells, senescent cells, stuff like that. So it's a process of purification, not just for the physical body, but also for the mind and the soul. And that's why we see it coming from every religion throughout the world, because they acknowledge this. They knew this. And this is something that we intuitively know too, because if you look at any animal, they all go on fasts when they get sick, things like that. We can see amphibians that are able to regrow limbs will do so by fasting.
Oh, I didn't know that's how they do it.
Isn't that so? It doesn't really make a lot of sense under the materialistic modern science viewpoint, because we would think, oh, you need protein to grow it back and this and that, but when they lose a limb, they will fast until they regrow the limb.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, so it's our bodies have an innate intelligence that we can really tap into when we go into a fast.
When you fast, what do you not eat or drink anything at all, or how do you do
So
it?
I drink water,
Okay.
and then I consume minerals as well.
What minerals?
I usually just use sea salt.
Okay.
Or shilajit. Shilajit's a great one, because, even if we were doing fasts hundreds of years ago, we would likely be drinking spring water, which naturally has minerals in it.
Yeah.
So if we're drinking something like purified or distilled water, we're just going to be flushing out minerals, and we're not actually going to be providing our cells with the water that it needs. So this helps structure the water as well.
Okay. When you do go back after the fast, what's the first thing you eat?
Typically fruit, because it's light on the digestive system and it's full of prana or chi. It's full of life and light. And this is what we see is it grows in the sun. It's very colorful because it wants us to eat it. The fruits want us to eat it. We have a symbiotic relationship with fruit. By eating fruit, we help it spread its seeds. We help it to grow. We help it to repopulate, to spread its offspring. That's why it tastes so good, and it has sugar and all this stuff as well. So it tends to be more enlightening and more enlivening.
Yeah. So when you fast, like, do you do anything to prepare leading up to the fast?
It would be good to kind of wean off the food, I guess you could say. So in the coming days, don't have the biggest meal of your life before. But there's I guess it just takes some mental preparation, because
Mhm.
obviously, like, I work in construction. It probably wouldn't be the best idea to fast during the week when I'm doing some manual labor and physical
Right.
work and stuff like that. Or, if it's cold outside, then it might not be the best idea. So, just like an animal wouldn't fast as much in the winter because our bodies, if we sync them up to the rhythms of the earth and of the sun and try to behave more like our biology was designed to be,
Mhm.
then that's going to help us thrive more than anything else. So things like going to bed when the sun goes down and waking up when it comes up. This is an extremely profound practice. It was revered by the Egyptians, the Essenes. They all took sun gazing extremely seriously. And even modern science has shown that it's the best thing that you can do to detox your pineal gland.
Yeah, you have some great videos that where you have your shirt off and you're barefooted in the middle of winter and you're in the snow.
Yeah.
And you talk about how that's the best way to collect vitamin D in the winter.
Yeah.
The importance of collecting vitamin D when it's pretty cloudy out.
Absolutely. It's even more important in the winter when the days are shorter, the UV rays aren't as strong, all of this stuff. So it's interesting because we modern science has shown now that even just things like cold exposure
Hmm.
in the winter help our mitochondria to express more light.
Oh,
And so we
interesting.
develop things like brown fat that are more dense with mitochondria, which gives us more energy on a cellular level. So that just goes back to what I was saying earlier is our bodies are kind of designed perfectly, made in the image of God, as the Bible would say.
Yeah.
So, it's if we are getting cold in the winter, like we're kind of supposed to, like would be happening naturally, then we have defense mechanisms
Mm.
that help us to make more vitamin D and stuff like that.
Do you take
You know,
vitamins?
no,
No.
no vitamins or anything, no like processed foods so my philosophy is just whole foods. The
Okay.
supplements that I take would be herbs,
Okay.
just powdered whatever.
Sure. Okay. Do you have do you do classes or do you what do you do? The reason why I ask is because earlier you said that you mentioned a client.
Mhm.
So do you teach people these things?
I no, I guess my Instagram would be where I
Okay.
don't want to gatekeep anything. I don't want to make people pay for anything. I
Sure.
believe that all this stuff should be free. So that's why I'm the sunlight salesman. I'm the
Yeah.
salesman of all things free. I want my message is empowerment. I want to empower people to be the best version of themselves, and the best way to do that is by helping them realize that all the best things in the world are free. So I do medical qigong,
Mhm.
which is different. That I don't provide services for free
Yeah.
because it's I'm putting a lot of my own energy into my clients, and
Sure.
that's more
What does that entail?
specific and tailored to them. So medical qigong is working with tapping into their subtle energetic systems like their chakras, their meridians, their organs, and seeing how those are functioning energetically.
Mhm.
And then there's specific protocols for all the things that can go wrong and stuff like that. So it's something that I've implemented into my own healing practices, but I really believe that the future, is of healers especially is an integration of all of um your powers or your gifts.
Mhm.
That's the word I was looking for. So I'm also using things like geometry to help people heal because this is extremely profound method of healing. Even things like shapes, colors, sounds, frequencies, because for instance, every chakra, like the solfeggio frequencies, is correlated to a specific frequency. So if we see that a specific chakra is out of alignment, then there could be specific sound therapies, specific light therapies that will help with that specific chakra
How
or a specific organ.
how do you know if something is out of line? Like you yourself, how do you know? Are you like very intuitive like that, or?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say that I'm very intuitive like that. It's more of something that's been cultivated
Mhm.
through my training in Qigong and just listening to my intuition, because, these are, like I said earlier, spiritual sense organs that when we practice and we actually exercise them, then we can get better at them. So things like in Qigong, we'll do things like fan palming over the client and tune into the energy of each organ. But it gets so far as, you don't even things like Reiki, you can do them at a distance. You can tune into anybody's energy field, but it's important to have the consent, right?
Sure.
You don't want to be intruding on anybody's free will, You don't want to be
Yeah.
breaking into anyone's home,
Yeah.
That's not going to have good karmic consequences.
Right.
So
So where could people find you?
I would say Instagram. That's where to find me. Any support that people give me, it means the world to me. I just want to spread the message of all things free and spread love.
And what is your Instagram?
Sunlight Salesman.
Sunlight, just that Sunlight Salesman?
Sunlight_salesman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a TikTok or anything?
I'm on TikTok as well. I don't keep up. That would be just Sunlight Salesman, no underscore.
Okay.
I got to keep up with that more. I'm just I feel this is my dharma. This is what I am supposed to be doing to
Well, I think so too.
bring this
Yeah.
message to the world. It's not even always something that I want to do or something that I'm doing to make money. It's because I feel this is God's plan for me.
Yeah.
So, I'm here to spread that message. I have my Instagram handle on the back of my car, and I'm like, I don't even want it there, but I know that I'm supposed to be doing everything that I can to get exposure, to spread the message of all things free, and even just to spread the seed of love,
Yeah.
right? So,
Well, yeah, you have to have some level of business acumen in order to get people in,
absolutely.
so
Yeah, and you can't just you can't go around giving everything for free.
yeah,
But this is a message that needs to be put out for free, and that's why
For
any
sure.
other services, like I make these, I wouldn't give them out for free.
sure.
And so that's something that I should definitely start promoting on Instagram soon, but it kind of goes against the salesman of all things free. So who knows, maybe I'll create another one.
Yeah.
But these healing technologies, things like Organite and tensor rings, I want to bring some light to that as well, because I feel that they have the ability to change the world and that they've been heavily suppressed. And I want to bring them back into the light, because I know that these have been used for thousands of years and we're really just rediscovering them. So it's an important message to put out there, because it is kind of free. Right? Like, we don't need to be paying an electric company to have these healing modalities and stuff like that. So it's very beneficial, things like this, even sound healing, all those are
Color therapy.
It's the future. It sounds so primitive to most people, but now
but it's actually
we're
old.
studying it scientifically. Yeah, color therapy, sound, shape, even sacred geometry is an extremely powerful mechanism.
Everything
for
Steiner
healing.
was into.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And if people want to see more of Carl, you'll see him at my convention this summer, 2026. And then it is on Instagram. It is sunlight
underscore
salesman.
Yeah.
And I think you're doing a great job reaching out to people. I see a lot of people liking your stuff. I think you've had an influence on me, and that's why I wanted to bring you on and talk about everything. So we got to get you back on the show.
Man, I'm just so grateful to be here. My heart is filled with joy to be here. It's been a great conversation. I could see that we have so much more to talk about.
Oh, we do. We definitely
could go
do.
forever.
Dude,
so
I could talk to you all
I'm
night.
happy to come back at any time, and I'm just filled with joy to be here. And
I feel like every little thing that we talked about, like that could be a whole.
we could have just
episode.
jumped down the rabbit hole
Yeah,
on
exactly.
any of those topics there, but we did a good job scraping the
I
surface
think we did too,
of all of them.
for sure.
and
Yeah.
It's been such a pleasure, man.
Well, and thank you for the gift. I really appreciate that.
Oh, of course,
This is
Channeling
awesome.
Chavez, it's only right.
Yes.
Now you're going to be, the channel's going to be more open.
Hopefully
It was
not
a
too open.
perfect little gift.
But thanks a lot, man.
Yeah,
and
of course. Thank you.
thank you, everybody.